In the year 2000, I went on what I call the world tour, where I went to all the jails surrounding Las Vegas from accumulated traffic tickets that I didn't pay that turned into warrant. And North Las Vegas jail was the last place that I landed. While I was in North Las Vegas, the Lord was really on my heart. So upon getting there, I asked the jail guard for a Bible, and he came back with the New Testament and Psalms Bible, put it in my top pocket, and read it before bed. Well, one night I was reading my Bible, and then they called break time, so I went out where everybody else was and was trying to play cards with somebody, but nobody knew how to play this card game that I used to play called Casino. So I went around asking people, no one knew how to play it. I look across the jail and I see this brother sitting in the corner playing cards by himself. So I walk over to him and I asked him, hey brother, you know how to play Casino? And he was like, yeah, I know how to play Casino. Have a seat. So I sat down next to him and he was like, are you still having those nightmares? And I got some chills down my back, and I looked at him and I said, what you mean? Those nightmares. And at that moment, I had so many chills running down my spine. The hair on my arms was standing up, because the night before, this night here, before we went to bed, the night before, I was reading Revelations in my Bible in bed before I went to sleep. And, well, I started dreaming that I was looking at a green pasture, and I was looking around, and I turned around and I saw this like a log cabin style house, sitting in a real green pasture. And this house had big windows in the front and trees all around. And I looked and I saw my best friend who was killed. And he took me by my shoulder and started walking with me and showing me his house in heaven. So I'm looking, and he asked me to come in, and I came inside, and now I'm looking around his house, and his house don't have no furniture. It's just marble or gold floor, really shiny gold floor and windows. And we were standing there staring out his window, and he had his hand on my shoulder, and I remember I was crying and I was weeping, and he kept telling me that he's all right. This is where he's at. This is where he's at. Don't worry about nothing. And as we were looking out the window, I could see his dogs were running back and forth out in the field, in the grass, in the prairie. And they were happy, like they were living in harmony and running, and and I saw this wooden log fence all the way off in the distance. And like he had a big property, and that was the edge of his property, was the wooden log fence. And everything was so green and so beautiful, and like everything was in harmony. And I sat there and I was looking at the house with him, and was just sitting there crying. And then all of a sudden I kind of faded out of where I was and started going down this hallway. And now I'm like, where am I at? And I'm looking at this hallway, so I walk down the hallway and I see a door on the left, and it's cracked open and there's a little bit of light coming out of it. And I'm like walking towards the door. I'm like, let me see what's inside. So I open the door, and I'm looking at this room with a mattress in the middle of the floor. And at the foot end of the bed, there was two kids, a little boy and a little girl, were sitting at the edge of the bed. And they, as if they were watching TV, they were watching a mirror that was set in front of them on the ground, like someone pulled it off the dresser and set it on the ground. And they were sitting in front of the mirror, and there was a woman in the mirror, and it looked like she was floating like in water, and she was beautiful. And the kids were interacting with her. Then I noticed she looked at me and realized I was there. And she was like, come here, come in here with me, come with me. And I was like, oh man, I started thinking about scary movies and things, and that's the type of stuff that go through my mind when I see something evil. The mirror on the wall, all that stuff. Like, I leave that alone, but this woman was in this mirror and trying to get me to come in, and I turned around and the kids was gone. And I looked back and she was still there. So I backed out of the room and I was like, oh, I gotta get away. And I started running back up the hallway. And man, when I got to the end of the hall, I was in a living room. And I was surrounded by people in the middle of like a funeral. And there was a funeral going on, and there's people crying and mourning, and women and children and old people, and elderly people, excuse me. But I was in a funeral and I was trying to figure out whose funeral is this, and you know, it looked like the people were Latino having a funeral, and I was just looking around and everyone had scary looks on their faces. And I wound up running out of the house, and I ran all the way out and turned around and looked at the house, and lo and behold, it was one of my really good friends' houses I was standing in front of looking out. And I just remember like waking up and thinking, man, I just saw a woman in the mirror trying to get me to come into the mirror with her. I'm glad that I didn't go in there. Man. Now, getting back to the guy I was playing cards with. Now, I'm sitting there and he's asking me, are you still having those nightmares? So, right away, I'm thinking about the visions that I just had the night before. But that's not what he was talking about. He was talking about something a little bit deeper. Since I was a kid, I've been suffering from sleep paralysis. And, you know, it had always messed with me, and I never knew how to get rid of it until I went to jail. And I looked at him and was like, what do you mean? He said, well, are you still getting held down in your sleep? And I said, yeah, how you know that? It's like, I know a lot of things, or I know a few things, is what he said. And then he was like, well, let me tell you something, brother. There's only one way for you to fight them. And I looked at him, I was like, please tell me how. And I knew there was something special about this brother. He had a real angelic presence about him. But he said, he looked at me dead in my eyes, and he said, brother, you have to say the name of Jesus off the tip of your tongue while you're sleeping. That's the key. So I said, well, it makes sense, because I remember one time being held down in my sleep. They lifted me up and started walking me in a circle. I was floating almost, and I got to the bottom of the bed as they were walking me in a circle, and I felt like I was gonna fall, and I said, Jesus, and I was right back in the middle of my bed. I was telling him this. So he's like, brother, listen to me. You have to say the name of Jesus Christ off the tip of your lips. But listen to me. They're going to make it hard for you. And I was like, they're going to make it hard for me? What you mean? And all of a sudden, jail guard called lights out. So we had to go back to our bunks, and I said, man, I'm gonna talk to you tomorrow and stuff. And I went back to my bunk, and I laid there pondering, wondering who this brother was. This is like a superhero or something. But I woke up in the morning, breakfast time, 4:30 a.m. I'm looking around the building. I don't see the brother anywhere. So I'm like, sitting down, I'm like, did you guys see me playing cards with somebody over there last night? And the only guy that really was paying attention to me was like, you was over there playing cards by yourself. And I was like, nah, I was over there talking to somebody. So I asked the guard, I said, guard, did you guys release anybody last night? And the guard was like, nope, we don't release anybody till about, I think he said after 8 or 9 a.m. And I was like, man, hold on. I was in here talking to somebody and playing cards with them all night long until they called lights out. And then I wake up in the morning and he's nowhere to be found. He was an angel and he was gone. And I was like, man, that was crazy. And so like ever since then I started really believing in angels and things, you know. I know that God had sent him to me to tell me how to fight this evil spirits that I've been fighting since I was a kid. And that brother, he said, man, listen, you have demons riding you. And he even directed me to a person that he wanted me to go see. But long story short, I got out of jail a few weeks. Okay, everybody, this is where the movie ends and things get serious, because I really want you to understand that I didn't create this movie to get the best editor award on YouTube or anything like that. Let me get down to the whole reason why I wanted to make this movie. Now, I went to jail and I had those visions, and I met a brother in there that I believe was an angel, who showed me how to fight these demons riding me. The sleep paralysis is what the medical world calls it, you know. God sent that angel. It might have been God, it might have been my best friend that got killed, that showed me his house in heaven, you know. But what I want to tell you, I want to finish the rest of the story up close and personal with you, so you can really, really understand and really feel how serious this is. This is not a game. This is not a joke. You know, there's spirits out here that are trying to kill the saints, trying to kill the prophets of God, and it's a Jezebel spirit. Okay, so I'm going to start by telling you how it all manifested and how my vision came to reality, okay? So, I get out of North Las Vegas jail, and about 2 weeks later, only that's it, 2 weeks, I had to stop for some gas in a gas station. And I went in, paid for my gas. And another thing about this, y'all, is back in 2000, you know what I'm saying? I was a little more than a player, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean? I always believed in God. I always knew God was real, but you know, I was lost in the world, young and crazy, doing all types of things to make money and to get the girls, you know what I mean? So this time I was in a lot of, I wouldn't say competition with my other peoples But you know, it was a big game going on and stuff, you know. So we were always trying to knock and trying to holler at the girls, you know. That's what we were doing at that time. So 2 weeks after I get out, I'm getting gas at this gas station, and I go in and I meet this girl. Okay, I didn't think much of my vision at the time. I just know I met a very pretty girl that was actually working at this little store. And long story short, I spit my little lines at her and wound up hanging out with her after she got off work. So I go to her house and, you know, we hang out, kind of like fall in love somewhat, you know what I mean? You know, and about a month, maybe a month and a half, excuse me for lagging so much, about a month and a half later, I moved in with the girl. Okay, I moved in with this girl and wanted there all the time and stuff, you know. And I would watch this girl, you know, she started off cool, but then I noticed she started drinking a lot and things and was doing some other things, and she started getting real excessive with it. And, you know, even though I lived with her, I still had my mom's house at that time, so I could always go home if I had a problem. But one time, I get back to her house, and I walk in, and I look around the living room, and in the kitchen, my girlfriend, I'm not even gonna give her a name, old Jezebel, I'll call her Jezebel, old Jezzy, she wasn't in the kitchen or the living room or anything, so I was like, where's my girl at? So I start walking down the hallway, okay, and her bedroom door was at the end of the hall on the left. Alright, so as I'm walking down the hallway and I see the bedroom door on the left, and a little bit of, it's like early in the morning, so the light just started shining, where everything kind of was pale yellow, you know what I mean? But anyway, I start walking and I see the door kind of cracked open, and I started realizing that I'm walking into my vision. So before I even hit the door, I said that vision was a bad vision. That vision had a woman in it trying to get me to get into the mirror, and then I left and ran through a funeral, and then I walked out and I was at my friend's house. So what's going on? So I'm walking down the hall. I get to the door. It's cracked open. I peek inside. Lo and behold, she took the mirror off of her dresser and she set it on the wall right there in front of her mattress that was on the floor. But anyway, when I walked in, I saw the mirror sitting up against the wall. And then I saw her sitting on the floor, Same direction as the kids would have been facing looking at that mirror. She's sitting on the floor, and parental discretion is advised, she is playing with herself. So maliciously, so violently, that the white of her eyes was all that was showing. And she had this grin on her mouth, like she was really evil. And she was looking in the mirror, and her face was shaking back and forth like this. And she was eyes wide, rolling into the back of her head. She was playing with herself. And I walked in, and this is real life, y'all. I walk into this girl's house I moved into. You know what I'm saying? I walk in, go down the hall. She's playing with herself. Really possessed like, should I say. And I was like, man. And I hollered her name. Jezzy. And she didn't respond. I said, Jezzy. Still didn't respond. Then I looked behind her. No, I didn't really realize, my bad. I didn't really realize that I was in the vision exactly yet. Until while I was watching her on the floor, I looked from behind her into the mirror, and there she was. The same face, everything that was in that mirror telling me to come in here. It was her. Except for she wasn't telling me to come in. She was having sex with herself. So now I recognize that it's the girl in my vision. She's in the mirror. She's in a trance. She's stuck in the mirror. So what do? The same thing I did in my vision. I got to go. I have to go, okay? I back out of the room. I go down the hall, except I moved in with her halfway, really. I had 2 outfits that I had brought with me to when I moved in, because I really had a shaky feeling about her anyway. I had 2 outfits, and they were in the room next to her room. So I back out. I go into the room next to her, grab my 2 outfits, come out the room, start running for the front door. Lo and behold, guess who's in front of the door naked with a pair of scissors? "Where are you going?" she said. I knew that God showed me that vision for a reason, and I said to myself, I am not going to die in here today in the hands of you, Jezebel. And I looked, there was an ironing board with iron on top of it. And she has scissors in her hands, like, "Where are you going?" You know? And boy, if I didn't grab that iron off that ironing board, I said the B word. B, come 1 step closer to me, and I promise you I will clobber you. And that girl said, "Well, what do you think you're doing?" And she started getting hysterical and even started to act like she was lunging a little bit with them scissors. And as soon as she got close enough, I grabbed her wrist that had the scissors in them, and I grabbed her by her face, and I pushed her all the way across the room into the couch. Opened the door behind me, and I ran out the door. just as God would have it, just as I ran out, I didn't have a car at the time, just as I ran out to the main street, the local bus transit was pulling up. And I jumped right on the bus and went back to my mom's house. Okay? And it don't end there. So I get away from this girl. I go back to my mom's house. Something was going on to where I was like gonna go visit my sister that month. And about a week and a half later, I wound up going to my sister's house. But before that happened, 2 days after I left that girl, she came. I had a car, but it was broken, and I was around 21 at the time, 22. My car was broke down. I had an Eldorado, 81 Eldorado Baritz with a steel top on it. You know, I had it going on with my little car, but 2 days later, I wasn't at home. My brother called me up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Your car is all smashed up out here. I woke up when I heard the windows crashing, and I looked down there and I seen about 9 or 10 people wearing black running around the car, tearing it up, throwing eggs at it, shanking the tires, breaking the windows. Within the 5 seconds that my brother woke up and was looking down out his window, he seen that happening, and everyone faded off. And I came home and my Cadillac was smashed to bits. And I said, ooh, this demon girl right here. So it was early. I was like, I'm gonna go to 7-Eleven, get me some coffee. I'm gonna come back and clean up this mess and see what I can do. So I wound up getting that car towed while I was at 7-Eleven. Police came by and towed my car. What was crazy, I wasn't even done paying for this car. I was making payments on it. And I wound up getting this guy's car all smashed up, you know, behind this crazy girl. But it don't stop there, y'all. It gets deeper than this, okay? So about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I'm in the Bay Area visiting my sister, and I'm like, I'm gonna come out there and visit you for a little bit. So I was planning on staying for a month, or if I liked it enough and I established myself, I was gonna move out there. But anyway, long story short, I'm out there, Santa Rosa, California, and I'm in my sister's house. I get a phone call from my uncle in Vegas. He's like, man, you know, he was my homeboy, my uncle. You know, we was doing the same thing I was doing. You know what I'm saying? We were all doing the same thing at the time. But he called me up and was like, man, guess what? And I was like, what? He was like, our boy got with that girl that you was with. And I said, man, what did you just say? He said, man, our boy just got with that girl and stuff, man. I said, man, check this out. He don't know what he's doing right now. He don't know who that girl is or why I left her. But she probably caught up to him on purpose. You know, she's probably trying to get at my friends and stuff, you know. But at that time, like I said, me and my friends were competitive, so, you know, I think he felt like he was kind of, he knocked my girl from me or something, you know? But anyway, he wound up getting with this girl. And I told my uncle, I said, he don't know what he's doing. Listen, I jumped out of the devil's shoes, and he just jumped right in them. I said, I left that girl for a reason, I told my uncle. I said, I left her for a reason. I said, I had a vision of her, and I started telling my uncle about my vision, okay? Now, that wasn't it. That happened about a week later. My uncle calls me again. Now it's gonna start to sound like Job when the servants came and told Job what was happening. Now, my uncle calls me exactly a week later. It's like, man, guess what? I was like, what's up? It's like, man, you know that girl, you know our boy, he moved in with that girl, Jezebel. And I was like, nah. He was like, yeah, I told him he better stay away from her. You know, I didn't tell him everything he told me, but I told him, man, you need to stay away from her. But he didn't listen. He moved in with her. And I was like, man, for real? He was like, man, but that ain't it. Guess what? And I was like, what? He was like, man, our boy's mom died. And I said, what? Man, that ain't all. Guess what? It's like, what? Our boy's dad died too. No. Man, they both died in the same week. And then I was like, man, I gotta figure something out and come back to Vegas and stuff. But man, exactly another week passed by. My uncle called me up. Man, my nickname's Philly anyway, back then and stuff. It was back in the world. It was like, Philly, guess what? I was like, what now? Man, that girl stole our boy's mom's ashes. And she ran away with his mama's ashes. And I'm like, you see what I mean, man? I told you and stuff that there was something demonic about that girl, that I saw her in the mirror, and God told me to get away from her, and I did exactly what God told me after I recognized who it was. I got away from her, and then he jumped right back into the situation that I was in. But that's not it, y'all. That's not it. It's like, man, so he stole my boy's mom's ashes. He was like, man, that's not all. She's calling all our friends and she's talking mess about them and stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, nah, man. And talking about how she got him doing drugs and things and stuff with her and stuff. And I'm talking about this girl, I used to watch her drink a 40 ounce along with a big bottle of Cavassier and kill it all in like 4 hours, all of it. I didn't understand how she was doing it. Then she was also smoking weed. She was doing all these drugs that a normal person would have passed out. A normal person would have died, but this is a girl that would be like, gotta drop my daughter off at the babysitter right after she just drunk those 2 bottles and stuff. And not, you know what I'm saying, this is like, I'm just now seeing this with her in this alcohol and the drug thing. So I was like, you know, like, man, she got a demon driving her, because none of that stuff is affecting her, and she drive across town perfect, not even a swerve. I said, yeah, she's being used. But exactly another week later, y'all, and I'm not lying to you, I'm really telling you the truth here, because you need to hear what these spirits are capable of, you know. Another week let pass, and my uncle said, man, you would never believe this. I I was like, what? He said, that girl, Jessie, stabbed our boy all up and down in his back, in his chest or whatever, with a pair of scissors. The Jezebel spirit is real, y'alls. And it's not the actual Jezebel, because God said himself that she'd be ate up by dogs and crapped out on a dunghill. You know what I mean? So, you know, we really need to be aware of what we're doing and who we're dealing with and who we're sleeping with, and you know, you need to really be mindful of God, especially when it comes to visions and dreams. You know, I had to share this video with you because it may help somebody else recognize something, you know, by something that I said, you know. And that was me back in the day. I'm a straight up Christian now, you know what I'm saying? I believe in Jesus Christ with all my heart, you know what I mean? He was raised on the third day, all that, you know. I've been baptized, you know, and after that stuff happened in around 2002, I started really going into church. That's when I started, that's what ran me to church, y'all. The sleep paralysis that been messing with me my whole life. All the answers were coming out of the Bible. So I was like, you know, I need to read this Bible and see what it's talking about. And I started to read the Bible, you know, and I was reading it a little in jail. That's what I'm saying. You know, I was reading that little Bible in jail, and I was seeing other things, like I had visions of the rapture, of the whirlwind and stuff, you know, and you know, I had that rapture vision, man, you know, and saw all the things about the whirlwind and the Bible, and you know, the speaking in tongues and things. And please check out my other videos. It's kind of late. I'm a little tired now. You know, I've been working on this video for about a month, but you know, on and off with the time that I have. But you know, I love y'alls out there. You know, really look out for this Jezebel spirit, y'alls. You know, she's manipulative. She'll put you in a dream-like state, like in a trance. You know what I'm saying? And right when you're slipping now, a good thing about this, everybody, is that my friend is still alive today and stuff. But he really learned a tough lesson. I learned a lesson out of it. You know what I mean? But you know, God gave me a vision that saved my life. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you'll have a vision, or maybe you've had a vision that has saved your life. And feel free, if you want to share any of that stuff, you know, you can definitely share it on my channel and let me know. Send me a message, email, however you want to do it, you know. But God bless each and every one of y'all's out there. Keep your eyes out and open. I mean, keep your eyes open. Yeah, I'm getting tired now. God bless everybody. Remember, you're the heads and not the tails. If God could use me, He could use you too. Amen.